Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
For centuries, ancient cultures knew the secrets to longevity, vitality, and healing. Now, modern science is catching up. Ageless Blueprint is a podcast that will reveal the modern secrets of better health and a better life. Join Dr. Eldred Taylor here today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. As together we discover the secrets to better health through science and spirituality. A better life with Ageless Blueprint starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ageless Blueprint. I am the spiritual MD, and I told you guys, every week I try to get better and better, so I got a new jacket here, Ageless Blueprint over here, Dr. Taylor, the spiritual MD. So I try to improve every time, and so welcome. It's a great morning here in Atlanta, and I'm excited to be here and talk about this subject. What we're going to talk about today is, let's stop here. My phone was on. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is something called Radical Remissions. It is a book by Dr. Turner. Her name is Dr. Kelly Turner, and she's actually a PhD. And she did research where she interviewed over 1,000 people who had radical remissions from cancers, all different kinds of cancers, brain cancers, breast cancers, prostate cancers, all types of cancers. And so she wanted to see, and some of these people never did any conventional treatment, and some of these people did conventional treatment, and then they decided not to, and they had these radical remissions. Now, what she found out is that a lot of doctors, when this would happen, they go back to the oncologist, and she was so surprised that the oncologist wouldn't ask, hey, what did you do? How did you do this so that I can tell other patients how this is done? Well, I'm not an oncologist, and I do see cancer patients. And I asked them, what did they do and how did they do this? And I haven't seen 1,000 patients. I haven't interviewed 1,000, but I've seen enough. And I know that if you take control of your health, you can, in some cases, I won't say in all cases, that radical remissions are possible. All right. I know someone, I was hoping to have a guest on. I'm not sure if she's having trouble.
She's here.
Her name is, okay. She's here. Well, let's go to her. Great. All right. So Tia, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. So this is Tia. And I met her through another patient who came, and she was one of my first cancer patients that I took care of. And I found out about her program, My Style Matters, where she provides support for patients. And so I'm going to go through these I'm going to quickly go through these 9 things that she went through, and you can tell me how many of these you did, okay? So one was radically change your diet. I know you did that, okay? Taking control of your health. Making your own decisions. Don't let the oncologist scare you into a decision that you don't feel good about. Following your intuition, using herbs and supplements, releasing suppressed emotions, embracing social support, deepening your spiritual connection, and having strong reasons to live. You need to have something to live for if you're going to have a radical remission. So let's they said I should start with a story on this, but let's hear a real live story from Miss Tomlin Harris here. So the floor is yours, Miss Harris.
Oh, well, good morning, and thank you for having me. I've been a
Are
little
we
under.
okay? Oh, here we go. I think she
Yeah.
may have some. Are you there, Miss Harris?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me on your show this morning. You talk about radical remission and
Rebel,
you
we
talk
seem to be
about,
having problems. Okay.
oh man.
No. Okay. Dr. Taylor, your internet is dragging, but Miss Harris, you are doing wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me, for being on your show today. I'm really excited about just to be able to share, radical remission. And, you talked about those 9 things that we need to have. And I actually, as you were going through them, I started checking the box in my head because those were the things that I did. And one of the things I truly believe is the battle starts in the mind. I'm a 2-time overcomer of triple negative breast cancer. And for those who are not familiar with triple negative breast cancer, it is a very aggressive type of breast cancer that typically it's about 10 to 15% of cancer diagnoses fall into triple negative breast cancer, which means it's not hormone based. And so the treatment options are very limited for those who are diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. And so I was diagnosed the first time under the age of 40. And the second time it was right before the pandemic, and I was still battling during the pandemic. And the first time I was, as they say, scared straight. The doctor said 2 things to me: you don't have time, and it's aggressive. And so those things really had me fearful. And within about a week or so, I was in the chair getting chemo. The second time I was diagnosed with breast cancer or experienced a recurrence of breast cancer, which means it came back, I felt like I was a little bit more equipped. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't fearful. I was afraid, but everything in me said, no, not chemo. No, not radiation. I did have surgery, but I had a radical remission experience where, again, I believe that the battle starts in the mind. And so I had to do a lot of work in my mind, in my faith, in my belief. Again, the fear was there. I'm human. And, that is a human experience to have the fear, but I had to find a way to press through the fear. And so, like I said, I did a lot of work on my mental health, making sure that I was strong enough in standing firm in what I wanted for myself, making the decision for myself and being okay with my decision. And like I said, I decided to forego chemo, and my doctors were talking to me about dying. They said, if you don't do chemo, based on what we know about triple negative breast cancer, you're not going to be here and you're going to die. And I said, you're right. I'm going to die. You're going to die. We're all going to die, one day, but I'm not going to die from cancer or with cancer. So we can stop having that conversation. But let's talk about, how I want to move forward with my healing. And so from there, I changed the way that I was eating. I went straight plant-based. I made all of my food from scratch. I would take everything with me. And I didn't tell a lot of people because from a faith standpoint, for me, it was, if you weren't really believing and standing with me in my beliefs and you weren't praying for me, I didn't want it to just be gossip for people to just, Tia, she got hit with a recurrence of breast cancer, but I needed true prayer warriors around me. And so I didn't tell a whole lot of people. And because of the work that I do, with My Style Matters, I'm the, founder and CEO of My Style Matters. I work with numerous cancer patients. And so I didn't want people to say, Tia, you know about this clinical trial. Tia, do this. Tia, do that. Because I knew and I understood science, but I was choosing to go a different route. And so I just chose to remain pretty quiet about it. But I continued to do the community work that I was doing, the philanthropic work that I was doing, and supporting other people in their journeys. And so about 3 months after I made my decision and after I heard the words, it's cancer, it's come back. When I went back to my doctor for my second scan, she said, it went from 5 lymph nodes to 3. And whatever you're doing, it's working. And so I said, whatever I'm doing, guess what? It is working. So I'm going to keep doing it. And so when you talk about radical remission, that is something that's so important. And a lot of people, when they come to me and they say, Tia, what did you do? I want to do what you did. And I have to ask them, are you ready to work? Like, you have to put in work. And a lot of the work, when we talk about faith, I think about God's word when he said faith without works is dead. Well, the work of faith the work is faith. That's the first thing. It's having faith. And then the second work is making those changes. And not everyone is either in a position to make those changes or are really able to make those changes. And so, the other part you talk about is community.
Yeah.
We've developed a community of support for women because that is so needed. And again, I hear so many times women will say, I wish I would have met you when I was diagnosed. I wish I would have known about you in the very beginning. And a lot of times we suffer in silence and we don't connect with other people. We don't share. We don't seek the support that we need. And we really need the support, even if it's just to confirm something that we're going through and we're uncertain about what it is we're going through or a side effect that we may be experiencing. And so having a community of support is so key, is so critical. And that, when it comes to the stressors of being diagnosed with breast cancer, having that sisterhood, having that community of support will alleviate a lot of that stress that we may be experiencing. Dr. Taylor, I think we may be having some connection issues.
No, we are good.
Yes. What's going on, Rebel?
You have a delay in when we can hear you talking. There's like a 3-second delay.
Is that just poor internet connection, you think?
Yes.
Okay. This is where I always do them, but hey, let's just push through it because this is just so important. If I have to do it again at another time, but let's just get as much as we can because I really want people to hear this. So, I can't control the internet in here, but if we can keep going, that'll be great because I know she has a meeting she has to go to. So go ahead, Tia.
Yeah, so I was just saying, the things that you're talking about in terms of radical remission, it is so key and it's critical, whether you're making a decision to go the conventional route or not go the conventional route, these things that we're talking about are so critical to our healing. Again, there's the mind work that we need to do, the mental health work that we need to do, the forgiveness work that we may need to do. And it may not be just forgiving a person. It can just be forgiving yourself. Sometimes we blame ourselves for cancer, for a diagnosis of cancer. So there's just a lot of work that we have to do. And I'm a living witness that we can get through it. We can overcome, the disease. And I call myself, I don't say I'm a survivor. I say I'm an overcomer of the disease. So I think that's something that's just, what you're talking about is so important. And I hope that, all of your listeners are really tuned in to those 9 steps that you were talking about with radical remission, and definitely get the book, to learn even more, because this information, there's just work, whether you've been diagnosed with a disease or not, it's just work that we need to do.
Yeah. Tia, I was saying, a lot of these alternative cancer places, they're $60,000. They're in Mexico or
And they're difficult for other people to, not everybody has that kind of money to get there. What would you like to suggest to help people? You've given us so many options, and I'm so glad things are going well for you.
Thank you. In terms of the options, that I would say, again, the very first thing, I truly believe that the battle starts here. It starts in our mind. So we have to take a step back and say, what are we saying to ourselves? What's that self-talk? Is your self-talk negative or is it positive? I truly believe that there's power and life in our words. And so what are we saying about ourselves, about, whatever we've been diagnosed with, whether it's breast cancer, ovarian cancer, prostate cancer? What is that self-talk saying to ourselves? And so once we're able to really have a breakthrough in our mental, then we can start focus on some of the other components like nutrition, like, being mindful of your environment, right? Your environmental exposures, and your environment in terms of the people that you're connected to, because sometimes people that we're connected to are not always, positive for us, right? We do have people that are toxic for us or are that cancers for us. So I would definitely say, those are things to start there. And then community connection is so critical and so key. You will learn so much about other experiences, how to advocate for yourself, the right questions to ask, what tests you should be getting, what is standard of care that you should be getting. Those are things, critical things that we should be having conversations about with other people, and we can, glean from their experiences and gain some insight to help us with our own battle for breast cancer. For myself, I did a lot of research, I did a lot of studying, and I didn't have the resources, the financial resources. As a matter of fact, after I was diagnosed the first time, I was laid off from my job. My job was undergoing a merger and my position got eliminated. And so from there, I wasn't ready to jump back into corporate America. I was still trying to heal from what my body had gone through, and I wasn't working. And so when I got hit with the recurrence of breast cancer again, I was on Medicaid. And so just think about that. I didn't have the means. I didn't have the resources to go to, a hospital, a more holistic hospital, somewhere in Mexico or anything like that. And so because I had done the work, I had done the research prior to, and had started to work on making those lifestyle changes, I felt that I was more equipped to be able to take the things that I learned to give myself a fighting chance and start there. And so, like I said, after 3 months of when I was initially diagnosed with the recurrence, when I went back after my second scan and the doctor said, hey, your tumors are shrinking and disappearing. It went from 5 lymph nodes down to 3. So I knew that whatever I was doing, it was working. And even the doctor said that. And so I continued to stay on that path. And then the pandemic hit and I continued to stay on that path until I was actually told, hey, I don't know what to do with you. Your cancer is not behaving like it's supposed to. All I can do is just monitor you for the rest of your life. I mean, right now, there's no evidence of disease. You're cancer free. That's what I was told 2 years later. And so I don't tell people do what I did, right? Because what I did doesn't work for everyone. But what I do say is you have to do your own research. You have to, do the work. And again, not everybody's willing to do the work. But if you're willing to do the work, that's where we can really have, a deeper conversation to support each other and to help each other.
The name of your support group again?
Yeah, so our organization, My Style Matters, we're based in Atlanta, Georgia. We're headquartered here. And we have a sisterhood called My Breast Years Ahead. We also have a program. It's a 12-week transformative program for Black and Latina women that focuses on, we focus on mindfulness, stress, self-advocacy, nutrition, physical activity, sleep, because that's another thing that we're not talking enough about, and reducing your exposures. And that is called Her Support. So it's intended for women who are disproportionately affected by breast cancer. We recognize that we have unique needs, and so we're here to support. But our organization, we support, all women who have been affected by this disease. We recently even launched, as of yesterday, a course. It's on our website. It's a trauma-informed cancer survivorship curriculum for Black and Latina women with breast and cervical cancer. And so, this information that we're putting out here is very important because we don't always have the resources or the connection or the support to really just help us. And so our goal is really to, provide that information to you. We always say, speak to your doctor, but we provide that information to the women that we support because nobody else is giving that to them. I mean, I remember when I went for my orientation, and I know it's crazy to say orientation before I started chemo, and I asked, what could I do to help myself? And I was told nothing. And that didn't sit well with me. That made me feel like we're just waiting for the
Mm.
other shoe to fall off the foot, right? And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't told eat healthy. I was told eat whatever you want to eat. There's snack machines that had, Snicker bars and candy and sodas and chips in the infusion center. And that just didn't sit well with me. And so I know that this information is needed. So, we developed a program that is, relevant to our culture, right? And it's really to build sisterhood, to build community, but also to hold the hands of women who want to make these changes. And so that's who we are. That's what we're all about, is we're here to support our women, to help them improve their health outcomes, and also teach them and empower them to self-advocate so they can get the care that they need and deserve.
Yeah. It's almost embarrassing that I call myself a doctor when you tell me that the oncologist told you that there's nothing you can do to help. That it's almost an embarrassment to the medical community and to the specialty of oncology. I don't know why they don't read that book, Radical Remissions. It's mind-boggling to me that a lot of physicians aren't interested in expanding their knowledge of how to help patients. And I thought that's why we went to medical school, is so we could help patients. But then we close ourselves off to other avenues that we could expose our patients to. So I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that the oncologist told you that. And so I know you have a meeting to go to, Atia, but I needed my viewers and listeners to see a real life remission story that is really you had the worst kind of cancer. You had a recurrence, which is almost always fatal when you have a triple negative, if you don't do the work that she's talking about. And that's what it is. It's not easy. Cancer is it's not like a cold. It's not going to go away in 3 or 4 days, where you just take some aspirin. It takes hard work. But if you do the work, and again, like she said, you may not do exactly what she's doing, but there's all these possibilities out there. And that's what I want cancer patients to know, that there's possibilities out there. And don't get overcome with fear. If you can get over that fear, then you can start to see the possibilities. So Tia, you have any last words? I know you have a meeting. I don't want to keep you. I promised you it was 15 minutes. So do you have any last words?
Yeah, again, thank you for having me here. If anyone is interested in connecting with us, they can follow us on social media. All of our tags are at My Style Matters. They can follow us on our website, www.mystylematters.org. And, just keep the faith, even if it's hard. I cried every single day, but I kept doing the work, right? And I kept speaking positivity regardless of how I felt, even, what I was seeing. I mean, I had a girlfriend at the time who was battling the same disease. We were kind of similar in our diagnosis. She had a recurrence. Hers came back at stage 4. And she was transitioning at the time. And I was watching this happen to her. And it was very, very scary for me. But I just had to keep speaking life. I had to keep speaking life and believing in my healing. And so I would just encourage anyone, even if you're fearful, keep speaking life to yourself, because at some point, your words and your beliefs will align itself, and you'll be able to say, like I said, I'm healed and nobody can tell me different.
That's why I've since we've last talked, I've kind of embodied this persona of the spiritual MD, because I have figured out how important spirituality and mindfulness is. And then, when you talk about keeping the faith, I say I live by 1 Corinthians 13th chapter. In the last verse, it says, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. So you need all of that, and you need to love yourself, and you need to keep the faith, and you need to keep hope alive. And that's what she's talking about, speaking life to yourself. And what you say to yourself is the most important thing. I think is that you have to keep speaking to yourself what you believe. So Tia, again, thank you. As always, it's always inspiring for me to hear you, and it just keeps me uh, it helps me to keep the faith, to keep talking about this to the cancer patients that come to me. So again, thank you. And please go to her website and support her in any way you can. And again, we appreciate you, Ms. Harris.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for
All right,
having
all
me.
right,
Take care.
all right. Thank you. Bye bye. All right. I had to go. I had to, for some reason, my internet in my study did not work. This is my extra bedroom, and I kind of go here to. This is where I do a lot of my study and uh, plan for these podcasts. So let's take a break, and we're going to come back and we're going to go quickly over these nine habits that you need to think about incorporating into your life. If you have been diagnosed with cancer, if you want to prevent cancer, or if you have a loved one who is dealing with that diagnosis, these are things that you can incorporate into your daily life that could lead to a radical remission. All right. So let's, with all this confusion, let's take a break and let's just get a brand new start. Okay.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the ageless blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk 4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Okay. All right. So we're here. This is kind of my study area here. So you get to see a little behind the scenes area here, but I don't know what happened to my internet in my study there. So hey, where there's a will, there's a way. So let's get right to it. I hope you enjoyed that guest. She is so inspiring to me. I've had the privilege to talk to her group a couple of times, and these are some of the bravest women you'll ever meet. They're dealing with the stressors in their life. A lot of these women are single mothers. They're they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of material things, but they have faith and they are doing the work and they are handling the emotional issues that are going on and they are believing. And that's why I'm telling you is that, hey, the body is a reflection of your mind and your spirit. And that's what she keeps talking about is that most of the work has to do with your mind. But let's go over some of these. So number one is you have to change your diet. Now, when cancer patients started coming to me and they had done their own research and they had taken meat and dairy and gluten out of their diet, and it made me start looking at plant-based diets. And I follow a plant-based diet now. Probably 80% of my diet is plant-based. So every once in a while, I'll eat some fish just so I want to make sure I get enough protein because I'm working out with a trainer now and he's trying to help me to build muscle mass. But even Arnold Schwarzenegger is saying a plant-based diet is healthier than what he was doing when he was Mr. Universe and all that. So a plant-based diet, I'll tell you, it will help you to control your weight. And the reason why it's important is that foods can cause inflammation. We've talked in the past about food sensitivities as being a stressor. And inflammation is the worst thing that can happen if you have cancer because it weakens the tissue and allows the cancer to spread more easily. So you want to take away anything that could be causing inflammation. And probably the number one thing, other than just toxic exposure from the things that we breathe and we put on our skin, is food. And meat has been shown to increase in a petri dish in the lab. that if you add meat protein to a group of cancer cells, it causes them to grow more rapidly. If you take it away, their growth slows down. So meat can be a very potent inflammatory uh, product. And because of what they feed the animals and the stress that the animals are under and the hormones that they give to the animals, all of these can lead to promoting cancer growth. All right, so that's number one. Number two is taking control of your health. I can't tell you how many patients have come to me and said, something told me not to do that chemotherapy. Something told me not to do that radiation. I should have followed my intuition. I never felt good about what was going on. And um, I always say, yes, you have to follow your intuition. And one of the ways to get in touch with your intuition is to meditate. I'm such a big proponent of meditation now, because when you quiet your mind, then that inner, small, sweet voice will start to lead you and guide you and tell you what is right for you. Because what was right for Miss Harris may not be right for you. I see patients who they decide to do the chemotherapy, but I also tell them, here are other things that you can do. I never try and persuade a person to go against their intuition. I tell all of my patients, hey, if I tell you anything that you are not comfortable with, either you have to ask me to explain it further, or you just don't do it, or you research it yourself. I never go against a person's intuition because they know if they're in touch with themselves, they know more about themselves than I do. So always follow your intuition. And when that intuition tells you something, do it. So often you'll say, oh, I had that gut feeling. Well, that gut feeling is your intuition. And when it doesn't feel right in your gut, do not do it. Follow your intuition. You have to take control of your health, just like Miss Harris. She didn't care what that oncologist said. All she went to that oncologist for was to do her scans and to look at her progress. But any information that did not sit right with her, she did not do it. All right. So so that was the taking control of your health and following your intuition. I'm trying to take my glasses off so you don't see so much glare, but I need it in order to see my notes over here. So using herbs and supplements. Now, there's all types of herbs and supplements that patients can use. The number one thing that I love is vitamin C. There's over 1,500 articles that show that IV vitamin C can not only kill cancer cells, but probably what it does mostly, it is a great anti-inflammatory. So if you can decrease inflammation, you're going to decrease the ability of those cancer cells to invade healthy tissue, because inflammation weakens the bonds between the cells in the tissue, and it allows cancer cells to penetrate, and that's what can be a cause of metastasis. So one, vitamin C is a great anti-inflammatory. Number two, it actually helps to kill cancer cells. And again, you can go on Google Scholar and look up vitamin C and cancer, and you will just see, I mean, really hundreds of articles that talk about the positive results by using vitamin C. And especially if someone is on chemotherapy or having chemotherapy, if they do vitamin C along with it, we bring them in once a week, a day or two after they've had the chemotherapy, and we give them IV vitamin C. And also what we'll do in some cases, if they're using really strong chemotherapy, is glutathione, because glutathione helps to detoxify the chemotherapy so that you can get rid of it, so that it only kills the cancer cells, because chemotherapy kills fast growing cells, and the fastest growing cells are your hair and the cells in your gut. And that's why hair loss and nausea and vomiting are the biggest side effects, or the most common side effects with chemotherapy. But when you use vitamin C and glutathione along with it, it seems to decrease those side effects, and it seems to increase the ability of the chemotherapy to do what it's supposed to do. Most of my patients who are on chemotherapy, they go back to their oncologist, and the oncologist is so proud of how well how well their chemotherapy is working. And I really think it's a combination of the chemotherapy and the vitamin C and whatever the else the patients are doing. Some patients are taking curcumin because that decreases inflammation. Mistletoe has been shown. The herb mistletoe is the one uh, supplement or herb that has definitely been shown to decrease cancer cell growth. Mistletoe, curcumin, uh, medical mushrooms like shiitake mushrooms, and I just encourage you to do your own research and you do what is comfortable for you, what your intuition tells you to do, because there's all kinds of herbs and supplements, and just like Miss Harris was saying, there'll be the more people you're around, they'll talk about how their sisters, cousins, brother-in-law, sisters, nephew did this and got rid of their cancer. But you need to listen to yourself. You need to do your own research. You need to look at your own lifestyle. You need to look at your own environment and see what could be contributing to this disease or this disorder that your body is going through. Because a lot of times, whatever a disease is or condition is, sometimes it's your body telling you something. It's trying to get your attention. When you read Radical Remission, a lot of these people will say cancer was the best thing that happened to me because it shook me up and it made me look at myself and it made me change my my outlook on life and what life means and what life is supposed to be. So a lot of times we talk about fighting cancer, but sometimes you need to ask your body or ask your mind or ask your spirit, what is this cancer trying to tell me? And I think that's what Miss Harris is saying. It was telling her she needed to slow down. And I'll tell you another thing, when you help somebody else, it usually helps you. And that's why I believe she started her organization, is that when you are helping somebody else, it takes your mind off of you. And when you are less focused on yourself, it allows you to relax and let your body heal itself. Now, I'm going to tell you everything that you might take in to try and deal with this cancer, your body has the chemicals and it has the immune system to handle that cancer. You have internally what you need to fight off that cancer, but you have to allow your body to do it. And that is a lot of that is changing your mindset so that your body can do what it's supposed to do. All right. The other one is releasing suppressed emotions. And I don't know if you follow Joe Dispenza, but he talks about how your mind gets into your body. I will tell you that almost all cancer patients that I talk to, I ask them what was going on 2 to 3 years prior to your cancer diagnosis. And they all have a story about a significant stressor or a series of stressors that happen right behind each other. A child got sick, or a child may have died, or they were taking care of their elderly parents for 2 or 3 years, and then they passed away, and how difficult it was to deal with their aging and dying parents, or they had a divorce, or some type of tremendous stress, or these series of stressors that happened one after another where they didn't have the time to recover. And those emotions, they can get into your body. And that's why I talk about stress so much, is that your emotions end up being expressed in a disease because those emotions have been suppressed, of anger, of frustration, of all these negative guilt, resentment, resenting the fact that your brothers and sisters aren't helping you to take care of your parents. All of that, the resentment of your husband or spouse trying to take your kids away, or this long custody battle. I'm telling you, almost 100% of my patients will tell me that story. So I just ask them, what happened 2 to 3 years before? And it is so consistent. So if you see yourself in that situation, you need to change it before this happens. So that's why I said this book is not only about people who have been diagnosed with cancer, But these are the things you can do to decrease your risk of contracting this condition. And I want to get away from I don't know how this happened, or I don't know. You have a cancer gene. You have cancer running in your family. There's no such thing as a cancer gene. There's none. So there are things you can do to decrease your risk of this. So and don't ever forget that. All right. So increasing positive emotions. And that's why meditation is so important. And like she was saying positive things to yourself. Think about the things that you love. Think about your children that you love. Love is healing. Faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. So you need to love yourself. You don't need to hate yourself for having cancer, or have this self-deprecating type of idea about yourself that somehow you did something wrong and God is punishing you with this cancer. That's just not true. It's just not. So you always want to be thinking positively. All right. Now I want to go back. I said we have a little bit of time. I want to go back when we talk about taking control. I want to tell people about this test called Signatera, and I'm going to have a representative from that company on. Signatera, it's a company, it's a part of a company called Natera, Natera. Now, what Signatera does, it takes your blood and it takes the tissue from your cancer biopsy. So it knows exactly the type of cancer that you have. And it looks for DNA fragments in the blood. All right. So it can tell whether or not the cancer is present or not, if the DNA from the cancer is present or not. And it is so valuable for people, for cancer patients to take control and help them make decisions. Now, I'll tell you how I use it. So if a patient comes in and they have a cancer diagnosis, we draw their blood, we send it to Signatera, and they give us a level of how much cancer DNA is in the blood. So with whatever treatment you decide, whether it's traditional treatment or alternative treatment, we follow that initially every 6 weeks. So if I'm giving them vitamin C or they're taking herbs or whatever, we follow it up 3 weeks later and 6 weeks later to see if that number is going up or down. And it tells us is it working prior to you waiting to see it on a scan? Because by the time you can see it visually on a scan, it has been around for a long time. And now it's much harder to try and cause a regression of that tumor. So, and in another case, the patient had surgery and they told her, hey, look, you better do chemotherapy and radiation because we don't know if we got it all. Well, we did the Signatera test after the surgery, and it was a minuscule amount of cancer DNA there. We kept doing the vitamin C. She kept doing all the other things that she was doing. We repeated it 6 weeks later, and it was negative. So she could go back to the oncologist and say, hey, you got it all. There's no remnants of this left. So we don't have to have a treatment based on fear or being worried that it may come back. And we'll continue to follow her. And if there's any evidence that it's recurring, we will get it early. And I had another patient who she had been negative for a while, and all of a sudden it went up a little bit. Well, when we saw that, I told her, I said, look, we're going to go back to doing the vitamin C. You're going to go back to doing everything you were doing before, changing your diet, because people, they get lackadaisical. She went back. She said, okay, I'm going to do everything I did when I was first diagnosed, because she never had traditional treatment. And she went back. She started doing it. We did the Signatera test 3 or 6 weeks later, and it was negative. So that just shows you your lifestyle and the things you can do can actually change your condition. The other one we talked about, so social support. That's what Miss Harris. She's a big advocate for that. Her My Style Matters. It's all about having support, having other people around you to encourage you, and people that you can encourage. It's a two-way street with this. Okay, you need to be encouraged, and then you can encourage someone else. And that's what we're talking about, love going from heart to heart and breast to breast. If we're talking about spirituality, is that the energy that you take in, the healing energy that you're creating, you need to let that flow through you to someone else. Okay. And then deepening your spiritual connection. And that's, the whole reason why I'm the spiritual MD and I wear this is because that spiritual connection is so, so important. It's important for you to receive or be able to recognize that intuitive thought that you have. That connection with the spirit helps you to keep the faith, is that there is a higher being that is in control. And if you can connect with that higher being, whatever you want to call it, and that's what I've learned in longevity medicine, is that spirituality is universal. Religion is something, it's different for different people, but in every longevity practice or remission, they talk about spirituality. They don't talk about religion. They talk about the importance of spirituality. Now, spirituality can come through religion, no doubt about it. I'm not anti-religion, all right? But that religion has to go further than you just going to church. It has to go further than that. It has to be a daily practice. I daily try to connect with God, the universe, whatever. You have to have some type of spiritual routine to get you into that connection. And the last thing is having a reason to live. And that's just not for cancer patients. Okay, I think anyone, I'm trying to promote longevity, and you have to have a reason to live. Yesterday, I was taking my wife's car up to get a service, and an 85-year-old man saw it was three people there, and he said, "Wow, nobody talks to each other anymore. Everybody's on their phone." And I'm like, "You're right." I put my phone down, and we started talking. It's an 85-year-old. He had been married for 50 years. His wife passed away. He's a Vietnam vet. His father was he's Jewish. His father was or his grandfather was part of the Holocaust that was survived that. And he was one of the most interesting people I've met. And he works at Napa Auto Parts. And he said, "Look, hey, what do you want me to do? Go home and die? No, I get up and go to work. I work part-time. I go home, take a nap. I read." He was talking about how much he reads. He speaks four languages fluently. The person next to me was from Poland, and he started speaking Polish to her. And then he asked her, "Do you speak German?" He spoke German. He speaks French. He speaks English. He's 85. And he says, "I read a lot and I have a reason to get up in the morning." And I don't care if you have cancer or you're just trying to live a long, healthy life. You have to have a reason to get up. The reason I get up is to study what I'm trying to give to you. And so that's why I started this school group. Please join my school group is school.com/ageless. And this is where we're going to go into depth on subjects like this and all types of subjects that deal with longevity and living a life of abundance. And that's why I'm doing this. I told you that one of my goals is that I want to be able to provide this type of information and some of these options to people who don't even have the money for IV vitamin C, some of the things that I do in my office. So please join the school group. Please subscribe to our Ageless Blueprint podcast.com and support our podcast. And please share this information with anyone who you think it could help. So I'm passionate about this. I'm telling you, I love my cancer patients because they come to me every week. We talk, we share information, and I try to provide them with faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. So, Rebel, do we? I know we have got about 30 seconds left. Anything that we should go over, or anything I missed?
Tell everybody about the book one more time and suggest where to get it.
Yeah. It's a Radical Remission. I know this is backwards, but it's Radical Remission by Dr. Kelly Turner. Yeah, you just see it's over 1,000. She interviewed 1,000 people, and those 9 characteristics uh, seem to be the common denominator of people who were successful with a radical remission, and none of that cost $60,000.
Awesome. Great information. And I hope everybody listens and hears what was said today. You need to know
And
yourself, and you need to know that you know you better than anybody else.
exactly. And please, share it with somebody who needs a little hope, because cancer is a scary diagnosis. I know it, and you just have to get over the thought that cancer equals death. And I don't care what your oncologist says, and that's what Tia is like. Stop talking to me about dying. Is that what you hear gets incorporated into your thought process. So, but anyway, I know we got to go. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us this morning. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties, but hey, we got through it. So thanks for hanging in there with me.
Thanks for joining Dr. Taylor today. If you missed any part of this show, just check out the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Ageless Blueprint is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. Together, we discover the ancient secrets to better health through science and spirituality made for modern times. Until then, feel free to check out agelessblueprintpodcast.com and taylormdformulations.com for more information.
Yeah, Rob, I don't know